हिस्ट्री का चैप्टर 2 है फ्रॉम हंटिंग गैदरिंग टू ग्रोइंग फूड। तुषार की ट्रेन जर्नी। तुषार was going from Delhi to Chennai for his cousin's wedding. They were traveling by train and he had managed to squeeze into the window seat, his nose glued to the glass pane. As he watched trees and houses fly past, his uncle tapped his shoulder and said, "Do you know that trains were first used about 150 years ago and that people began using buses a few decades later?" Tushar wondered, when people couldn't travel quickly from one place to another, did they spend their entire lives wherever they were born? Not quite. The earliest people. Why were they on the move? We know that about people who lived in the subcontinent as early as 2 million years ago. Today we describe them as hunter-gatherer. The name comes from the way in which they got their food. Generally they hunted wild animal, they caught fish, bird, gathered fruit, root, nut, seed, leaf, stalk and egg. फिर से hunted wild animal, they caught fish, bird, fruit, they gather root, fruit, nut, seed, leaves, stalk and egg. Hunter gatherer move from place to place. They ate. There are many reasons for this. अभी क्यों move करते हैं hunter gatherer move करते हैं, क्यों move करते हैं reason बताओ. If they are stayed for at one place for a long time, they would have to eaten up all the available plant and animal resources there. Therefore, they would have had to go elsewhere in search of food. Second, animal they move from place to place either in search of smaller prey or in case of the deer, wild cattle in search of the grass and leaf. That is why those who hunted them had to follow their movement. Third, the plant trees bear fruit in different seasons, so people may have moved from season to season in search of different kinds of plant. And the fourth, people plant animal, they need water to survive. Water is found in lakes, streams and river. While many rivers and the lake are perennial with water throughout the year, others are seasonal, so people living on the banks would have had to go in search of water during the dry season, that is winter and summer. ओके तो हमने एक रिवर का बता दिया. रिवर पे डिपेंड करते हैं, वो कोई सीजनल होते हैं, कोई पेरेनियल होता है. दूसरा प्लांट डिफरेंट सीजन पे डिफरेंट फ्रूट्स लगते हैं. और एक होता है कि एनिमल मूव करते हैं सर्च ऑफ प्रे, उसी उनके मूवमेंट पैटर्न को फॉलो करना पड़ता है. अगर एक जगह पे रहते तो वहाँ के सारे रिसोर्स खत्म कर देते और उनको इसलिए अलग अलग जगह पे जाना पड़ता है. हाउ डू वी नो अबाउट दिस पीपल? आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट हैव फाउंड सम अदर थिंग्स hunters together made and used. It's likely that people made and used tools of stone, wood and bone, of which stone tools have survived the best. Some of these stone tools were used to cut मीट को कट करने के लिए, बोन को कट करने के लिए, स्क्रैप बार्क फ्रॉम ट्रीज एंड हाइड एनिमल स्किन, चॉप फ्रूट रूट. सम मे हैव बीन अटैच्ड टू हैंडल्स ऑफ बोन और वुड टू मेक स्पीयर्स एंड एरोज फॉर हंटिंग. अदर टूल वर यूज्ड टू चॉप वुड which was used as firewood. Wood were also used to make huts and the tool. Stone tools may also have been used digging. और दूसरा करने के लिए यूज़ करा स्टिचिंग क्लोथ्स के लिए. Next, choosing a place to live in. All the places marked with red triangles are sites from which the archaeologists have found evidence of hunters and the gatherers. Hunter-gatherer live in many more places. Only some are shown on the map. ये बुरजाहोम में hunter gatherer थे. मेहरगढ़ उधर की तरफ है. बुरजाहोम जम्मू कश्मीर के आसपास है. अब ये है डाओ जाली हेडिंग. ये आई थिंक ये मेघालय त्रिपुरा के आसपास है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में है. गंगा रिवर के ऊपर एक चिरान नाम की जगह है. उसके बाद फिर ये भीमबेटका मध्य प्रदेश में है. यहाँ पे देखो गंगा रिवर और यमुना के आसपास महागरा और कोलदीवा है. ये कोलकाता है, ये मुंबई है. ये इनाम गांव गोदावरी और कृष्णा के बीच में है. इनाम गांव, कृष्णा रिवर और तुंगभद्रा के हुंसकी है. फिर तुंगभद्रा के नीचे की तरफ, तुंगभद्रा के ऊपर हुंसकी, नीचे कर्नूल केव है. ये कावेरी रिवर के इस साइड में साइड देखो सबसे हल्लूर है. उसके ऊपर है ब्रह्मगिरी, पय्यमपल्ली. नीचे है आदि चनालूर. ठीक है. उसके as stone tools were important, people tried to find places where good quality of stone was easily available. भीमबटका आज के एमपी प्रदेश में, ये ओल्ड साइट है विद केव्स है एंड रॉक शेल्टर. पीपल चूज देयर नेचुरल केव्स because they provided shelter from the rain, heat and wind. These rock shelters are close to the Narmada Valley. Rock painting and what they tell us. The sky from a rock shelter. We find many of the caves in which these people lived have painting on the wall. Some of the best examples are from Madhya Pradesh, some South Uttar Pradesh. These paintings showed wild animals drawn with a great accuracy and the skill. साइट्स वो प्लेसेस होते हैं वेदर रिमेन्स होता है, या तो कोई टूल या तो कोई पॉट एंड बिल्डिंग वर फाउंड. दीज वर मेड यूज्ड एंड लेफ्ट बिहाइंड. पीपल ने उनको बनाया, उनको यूज़ किया और छोड़ के चले गए. दीज में हैव बी फाउंड ऑन द सर्फेस ऑफ द अर्थ, बरीड अंडर द अर्थ, समटाइम्स इवन अंडर वाटर. फाइंडिंग अबाउट द फायर. फाइंड द कर्नूल केव्स इन मैप. 2 traces of fires have been found here. It suggests that people were familiar with the use of the fire कर्नूल में ऐश मिला है, तो उसका मतलब वहाँ फायर था, तो फायर कुड हैव बीन यूज्ड फॉर मैनी थिंग एज अ सोर्स ऑफ लाइट टू रोस्ट मीट एंड टू स्केयर अवे एनिमल. हम जो जैसे आज के लिए करते हैं, लगभग आर्कोलॉजिस्ट हैव गिवन द लेंथी नेम्स फॉर द टाइम दैट वी आर स्टडीइंग. दे कॉल द अर्लीस्ट पीरियड एज पैलियोलिथिक. दिस फ्रॉम द कीवर्ड पैलियो मीनिंग ओल्ड, लिथोस मीनिंग स्टोन. द नेम पॉइंट टू द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ फाइंड ऑफ स्टोन टूल. द पैलियोलिथिक पीरियड एक्सटेंड फ्रॉम 2 million years ago to 12,000 years ago. This long stretch of time is divided into lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic. This long span of time covers 99% of the human history. This period, when we find environmental changes beginning about 12,000 years ago till about 10,000 years ago, is a Mesolithic. 12,000 से 10,000 Mesolithic, middle stone. तो old stone, middle stone. Stone tools found during this period, they are generally छोटे-छोटे and now called microlith. Microlith were probably stuck onto the handles of the bone of the wood to make tools such as saws and a sickle. At the same time, older varieties of tool continue to be used. The next stage from about 10,000 years ago is known as the Neolithic. New मतलब new. We have also mentioned the names of the some places. You will find the names of many more places in the later chapter. Very often we use present day names of the places where people live in the past because we do not know what they call them. Around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world with a shift to relatively warm condition. In many areas, this led to development of grassland. Warm हुआ तो grassland हो गया. This in turn led to an increase in the number of deer, antelope, goats, sheep, cattle, that is animals that survived on the grass. Those who hunted these animals now followed them, learning about their food habit and their breeding season. कैसा खाना खाते हैं on their breeding season. It is likely that this helped people to start thinking about herding. Herding के बाद rearing. Herding and rearing these animals themselves. So fishing also became important. Beginning of उनके food pattern, food habit and breeding. The beginning of farming and hunting. This was also a time when several grain-bearing grasses, जैसे wheat, barley and rice, they grew naturally in different parts of the subcontinent. Men, women, children, they probably collected these grain as food and learned where they grew and when they ripened. कहाँ ये ग्रेन है, खा सकते हैं, कैसे इनको ग्रो करना है, कहाँ पे ग्रो करना है, कब ये राइप होते हैं. दिस मे हेल्प देम टू थिंक अबाउट द ग्रोइंग प्लांट्स ऑन देयर ओन. इन दिस वे पीपल बिकम फार्मर्स. People could also attract and then tame animals by leaving food for them near the shelters. उनको अट्रैक्ट करेंगे, फिर टेम करेंगे. द फर्स्ट एनिमल टू बी टेम वॉज द वाइल्ड एंसेस्टर ऑफ द डॉग. लेटर पीपल एनकरेज एनिमल दैट वर रिलेटिवली जेंटल टू कम नियर द कैंप वेयर दे लिव. दीज एनिमल्स सच एज sheep, goat, cattle, also the pig lived in herd and most of them ate grasses. Often people protected these animals from attack by other wild animals. This is how they become herders. उसके बाद फिर आते हैं next is domestication. Domestication is the name given to the process when the people grow plant and look after animal. Very often people and animals that are tended by people become different from wild plant and animal. This is because people select plant and animal for domestication. For example, they select those plant and those animals that are prone to diseases. For example, they also select plant that yield large size grain. They have strong बड़े बड़े grain होते हैं, long a strong stalk capable of bearing the weight of the ripe grain. Seeds from selected plants are preserved and sown to ensure that the new plant and seed will have the same qualities. Amongst the animals, those that are relatively gentle are selected for breeding. As a result, gradually domestication of animal and plant become different from wild animals and plant. For example, the teeth and horn of wild animals are usually much larger than those of the domesticated animal. Domestication is a gradual process that takes place in many parts of the world. It began upon 12,000 साल पहले. Virtually all the plant and animals produced that we use as a food today is the result of domestication. All the plant and animal produce that we use as a food today is the result of domestication. Some of the earliest plant to be domesticated were wheat and barley. The earliest domesticated animal includes sheep and goat. Wheat, barley, sheep, goat. Ways in which the grain was used. कभी कोई seed, कभी कोई food as gift stored for food. A new way of life. If you plant a seed, you will notice that it takes some time to grow. This may be for several years, week, month, and in some cases year. When people begin growing plant, it meant that they had to stay in the same place for a long time, looking after the plant, watering them, weeding. अगर when people begin growing plant तो वहाँ पे उनको रहना पड़ता था for a long time, looking after the plant, उसको water करना, weeding करना, driving away animals and the bird till the grain ripened, and then the grain had to use carefully. Food, gift, seed. As grain had to be stored for both food, grain को store करना पड़ता था खाने के लिए भी और seed के लिए भी. People had to think of ways of storing it. In many areas they began baking large clay pot or wood basket or dug pits in the ground. उसके बाद फिर rearing animals multiply naturally. Beside, if there are animals multiply naturally, beside if they are looked after carefully, they provide milk, which is an important source of food, and meat whenever required. In other words, animals as a deer can be used as a store of food. Apart from food, what are the things that animals, you know that. Finding out about the first farmers at the herd, you will notice a number of blue squares Each marks a site from where archaeologists have found evidence of early farmers and the herder. These are found all over the subcontinent. Some of the most important ones are in the northwest, present-day Kashmir, and in the east and the south India. To find out whether these sites were settlement of farmers, herders, scientists study evidences of the plant as well as plant के अगर कोई bone मिल जाए, plants का कुछ मिल जाए, remain या कोई animal bone मिल जाए. One of the most exciting finds include the remains of the burnt grain. These may have been burned accidentally or on purpose. Scientists can identify this grain, and so we know that the number of crops were grown in different parts of the subcontinent. They can also identify the bones of the different animal. उसके बाद towards the archaeologists have found traces of hut or houses at some site. For instance, in Burjoham, जो present day Kashmir है, people built pit houses which were dug into the ground with steps leading into them. These may have provided shelter in cold weather. Archaeologists have also found cooking hearth both inside and outside the hut, which suggests that depending on whether people could cook food either indoor or the outdoor. Stone tools have been found from many sites as well. Many of these are different from earlier Paleolithic tools, and that is why they are called as Neolithic. These include tools that were polished to give a fine cutting edge and mortar, pestle used for. These include tools that were polished to give a fine cutting edge. कोई mortar, pestle used for grinding grain and other plant produce. Mortar and pestle are used for grinding grain even today, several thousand years later. At the same time, tools of the Paleolithic type continue to be made and used. And remember, some tools were also made of bone. Many kinds of earthen pots have also been found. These were sometimes decorated and were used for storing things. Earthen pot kabhi kuch decorate and they were used for storing. People began using pots for cooking food, especially grains like rice, wheat, and lentils have that now became an important. People began using pot for cooking food, especially grains like rice, wheat, and lentils that began using pot for cooking food. This is rice, wheat, lentil that now became an important part of the diet. Besides, they began weaving cloth using different kinds of material. For example, cotton that could now be grown. The thing changed everywhere and all at the same not quite. In many areas, men women still continue to hunt, they gather food, and elsewhere people adopted farming and herding slowly over several thousands years. Besides, in some cases, people tried to combine these activities, doing different things during different seasons. ये मेहरगढ़ मैप 2 में था. This site is located in a very fertile plain near the Bolan Pass, which is one of the most important routes into Iran. मेहरगढ़ Bolan Pass Iran का route है. Mehergarh was probably one of the places where people learned to grow barley and wheat and rear sheep and goat for the first time in this area. It is one of the earliest villages that we know about. At this site, many animal bones are also found. Molds of wild animals such as the deer, the pig, and also bones of the sheep and goat are found. तो deer, pig भी एक जोड़ लो इसमें. Other finds at Mehergarh include the remains of the square house or rectangular house. Each house had 4 or more compartments, some of which may have been used for storage. This is a house in Mehergarh. This is what a house in Mehergarh may have looked like. This is burial from Mehergarh. उसके बाद है when people die, their relatives and friends generally pay respect to them. People look after them, perhaps in the belief that there is some form of life after death. तो रिस्पेक्ट करते थे, उनको लुक आफ्टर करते थे, तो उनका था कि there is life after death. Burial is one such arrangement. Several burial sites have been found at Mehergarh. In one instance, the dead person was buried with goat, which were probably meant to serve as food in the dead person was buried with goat. गोट के साथ बरी कर दिया जाता, which were probably meant to serve as food in the next word. Hunter gatherer, site habitation, factory, Mesolithic, Microlithic, domestication, farmer, herder, Neolithic, burial, etc. Thank you.